I'm excited for today's video because I made you guys something. It's this right here, which I know just looks like a bunch of words, but it's actually 20 brilliant prompt ideas for college students. I recommend downloading it from the description below because we're about to blast through each and every one of these prompts. Now, if you just listened to that and you had no idea what I was talking about, apart from the fact that I made you something, you have a couple options. One, in the download, I've included a few pages of introductory material, or two, you can go the extra mile and watch this video right here. So now that we're ready to dive in, go ahead and turn to page 4, where the first thing we need to do is we need to come up with a general topic to demonstrate each of these examples. So I'm going to come up with a few and we're going to pick one. All right, let's see here. We could choose a mental health topic, say social media and its impact on teenagers. We could do something in computer programming, say how to write code, or maybe we just choose something in the modern realm, perhaps dating apps and how modern relationships are changing. Yeah, that's the one. I say we venture down that route. So here we go. We have prompt number 1, which is to ask for an explanation. So in this case, it would be explain the concept of dating apps, or you could simply ask, what are dating apps? It doesn't have to be wild. But let's take this and let's go to chatgpt.com to see what response we get. As I'm putting in the prompt, notice how I'm explaining that I'm a college student who's writing a research paper in my psychology course. This is called prompt priming, which simply refers to giving context to your situation. This way, ChatGPT understands that I'm a college student, not that I'm, say, a relationship coach or perhaps a person trying to improve their dating app. So as a rule of thumb, the more context you give, the more curated your responses will be. But ours is ready to go, so let's take a look. Okay, so ChatGPT starts by explaining that dating apps are mobile applications designed for individuals to meet and interact with potential romantic partners. Great. Going down the line, it discusses that users create profiles that typically includes photos, a brief bio, and sometimes additional information as education and occupation. Then, if two users both express interest in each other, they can begin chatting within the app and potentially arrange to meet in person. And finally, it discusses how as dating apps become popular, there are also some things to be wary of. For instance, that there are concerns about safety, privacy, and even the impact on traditional dating norms and relationship dynamics. All right? So that's our response, and overall, I'm going to say ChatGPT did a pretty good job at capturing the highlights of what dating apps are. Now let's say that this topic was a bit more complex. It's something difficult or new to you. And so by this initial response, you're still unclear as to what it means. Something else you can ask to further your understanding is to simply have ChatGPT regenerate their response. So you can ask them to say this differently or reword your explanation. As you can see here, we have our new response, and it's a bit shorter than the previous response because I think ChatGPT understands that if you're having it reword something, that means that you weren't quite clear on the first response. So what it does is it maintains the essence of the previous response, but it condenses it into a more concise summary to help with your understanding. Now, a completely different use of this prompt is, say you're writing the introduction to your paper and it's not quite where you want it to be. You could paste your introduction into ChatGPT and have them reword it, have them say it differently. Provided you do the research and the initial writing yourself, this is an acceptable way you could use ChatGPT to help you improve the writing. But going back to our example, let's continue down the path of different prompts you can ask to help you understand something. So number 3 on the list is you can ask for context. This is a follow-up prompt. So you have your initial explanation of what a dating app is. Now you can ask ChatGPT to give you context, which is going to help expand your understanding by discussing the parameters in which dating apps apply. And here we go. So ChatGPT starts by going over the history of dating apps, stating that they gained popularity over the past decade, especially in 2022, when a lot of people turned to online dating, or online for everything, matter of fact. But then it moves on to the back end perspective, talking about how algorithms are what are used to match potential partners. Then it moves on from the back end to the front end by discussing the user interface and the user experience, in which it talks about some of the features. So you can pay for a premium subscription. They offer virtual events, a few other features. And then again, it goes back to that concern, the warning of safety and privacy issues, but it expands on the morality by discussing the arguments about how dating apps, they lack in authenticity and tend to focus on physical appearance over deep emotional connections. Now, I will point out that there's been a decent amount of overlap with these first three responses, and that's simply because these first three prompts fall into the same bucket in that we're trying to understand a concept. So naturally, some things are going to be similar. I want to give you one more prompt, however, that is also in the nature of helping you understand something, but hopefully it'll give us a bit of variation. And so moving down the line to prompt number 4, we're going to ask for a comparison. You could also ask for an analogy, but for this one, let's just ask ChatGPT to compare dating apps to something else. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so dating apps can be compared to a virtual bar or nightclub. I feel like that's a pretty logical comparison. So here, ChatGPT is comparing it to a nightclub because it says in both cases, people are looking to make connections with each other and are often using visual cues or first impressions to make decisions about who they might be interested in. That's a fair comparison. Now, it also discusses some of the key differences. So between a dating app and a physical bar, for example, on dating apps, people have the ability to be more selective about who they connect with based on such criteria such as age, location, and interests. They can also communicate with potential matches before meeting in person, which can help them establish a deeper connection before taking things offline. Dating apps also provide a wider range of potential matches, particularly for people who live in more rural or remote areas. Again, that's a fair point. Now, in terms of academics, we're veering off topic because you're probably not going to include a comparison of dating apps and virtual nightclubs in your research paper. However, an example of when this prompt came in handy for me is when I was researching the topic of writing code. So writing code is so far out of my wheelhouse, I might as well be speaking another language. However, when I asked ChatGPT to create an analogy for it, it compared the process of writing code to the same process of cooking a complex dish, in that you have to come up with the ingredients, they have to be perfect and in order, and everything has to go in its place. That was incredibly helpful. But where were we? Ah yes, number 5. Now we're going to assign a persona. So who are they? Are they a beginner or an expert, a college student, a graduate, or a professor? In this example, we're going to be a relationship therapist that specializes in dating apps. And our question is to understand what the most prevalent negative side effects of using dating apps are. Now, if you're wondering why in the world would it be helpful to you, a college student, to have artificial intelligence pretend to be a relationship therapist and tell you this, well, here's the thing. This is a brilliant, creative way to perform preliminary research. So let's say you're in the beginning throes of writing a research paper feeling uninspired. This is going to help you refine your research topic, maybe even develop your research questions. So check it out. We're writing about dating apps. We could choose to write about how they increase anxiety and stress, or perhaps from the perspective that they're time consuming, or that they cause burnout and disillusionment. Maybe we can discuss the dehumanization factor of dating apps, or finally, all of the risks of scamming and catfishing. Mind you, I simply asked for 5 negative side effects. We could have asked for the positive ones. It simply depends on your vision. And that's the thing about all prompts, is they depend on your vision and your goal. The only real constraint is your ability to formulate the prompts, which is why I've created the free download. Mind you, these are 20 out of thousands of opportunities. You simply need to try. And if you're worried about academic integrity or you want more tutorials, be sure to check out one of these videos next.